What's going on, guys? Big welcome to you all to our channel. We are Team Crushing the Meta. Today we are with D-Boy and we are back with another video for you guys. So today we are actually gonna talk about the restriction list. So if you guys haven't seen it yet, we have these three guys coming back at 4. So we have Shiryuki, Durian, and Anger Blader. All of these cards were restricted to 1 in standard. We're talking standard, but they are now unrestricted. So in this video I'll tell you our thoughts about it, and then we will also go back and talk about the whole restriction list in general, like all of the cards that are in there, and I'll talk about if they still deserve to be there or not. Alright, so first let's talk about the changes. So these 3 cards unrestricted, what do we think about them and what are our thoughts? Let's start with Shiryuki. So Shiryuki, the reason why Shiryuki went to 1 is because of Hyuga. Hyuga Murakumo was actually dominating the format. It was destroying everything and it was becoming that kind of a tier 0 deck, very close to tier 0. And then they restricted Shiryuki to 1, so the deck became less strong and being played less and less and less. And after that, actually better decks came into the format and the deck wasn't really played again anymore. So for that reason, Shiryuki was put to 1. If you read Shiryuki's text, especially the second ability of Shiryuki, you would think putting her to 1 was stupid to begin with, because you can't really use her second the second ability of Shiryuki is unusable. So now with her going back to 1, at least we don't have to explain to new players, Hyuga bullshit, going to 1, yes, okay, she has only 1 ability. Don't have to do that anymore. They could now just play her at 4 if they want to. Will this change the format? Will this have a huge impact on the format? Well, what are the best, or what are the Murakumo decks? We have Dueling Dragon, we have Yasui, and we have Hyuga, because you could still make it. If you put Shiryuki back to 4, will Hyuga become that tier 1/tier 0 again? No. Why not? Well, it's not that the deck actually benefit that much from going first, different than Anger Blader, we'll talk about him in a minute. It's not that Hyuga is still better than the current decks of the format. I mean, you have Gurgate and we have Blue Ward, and they are still like destroying everything else. So no, Hyuga will not make that big of an impact. Also, Murakumo is not the most popular clan, so people will not just pick it up because they love the clan. Most people who played Hyuga are just people that wanted to win. So that's another very important thing. If the clan isn't that played, then people will not just pick up the deck again. Then maybe they will try it for 1 or 2 tournaments or 1 or 2 fun games and see how that would work out. And then they would see the deck isn't tier 0 or like top tier 1, so it will not be played that much. At least it will not dominate the format right away. Maybe you will see here and there a rogue deck that is doing something, but again, it will not dominate the format. It's almost the same story for Dueling Dragon. It would always be a rogue deck that you could see here and there, because the deck is strong, but again, it's not that it will be like relevant like that with Shiryuki back to 4. I mean, I don't think that they will even play her at 4, maybe 2 or 3 copies at max, but that's it. So no big change for Dueling Dragon. For Yasui, it's a different story. So Shiryuki going back to 4 could mean more for Yasui, because Yasui is already a strong deck by himself, and having Shiryuki back could make it even stronger. But again, it will not make him a tier 0 deck. Maybe it will make him like between tier 1 and tier 2, like a tier 1.0, but still, it's not a tier 1, even not a tier 1 deck. So for that, it's pretty fine to have Shiryuki at 4 in the standard format. Alright, enough about Shiryuki, now we go to Durian. So the thing is, with Durian, we have seen from 2 years ago, our world champion for standard was Nuno. Nuno is a good friend of mine, an amazing player. He was able to win wars with Pale Moon. At that time, the pace that Pale Moon was going was too fast. Like, you could draw almost every turn like 2 or 3 cards from Dorian, and it was amazing because your regards are safe. It just worked very well. It's stupid that this card was only like what, rare, and it should have been like a double rare or a triple rare because of its amazing ability. And then now we don't really see Silverthorn or Lugier actually topping that much, or actually Pale Moon in general. Harry didn't do much, it's more of a fun deck, still need lots of work, and the idea is very nice, but the deck doesn't really work. And then we have Silverthorns, which is again a very strong deck, but it is not as good as the other clans. Even with how good the new queen is, she is still didn't really make a big difference to the format because the other decks are just better. So these decks just come out, and then you will see the deck played a little bit, and then people leave it and jump to the next stronger deck, which is in this time. Yep, Luard is still very strong, and people expected like to see something about Gurgate in this list, but it's just too soon, so they would not do that. I mean, even with Luard, they just said like the two cards could not work together, but we'll talk about that when we go into the restriction list, the complete restriction list. So will Dorian make a big difference for Pale Moon? Well, it will make some difference, but it will not make that big of a difference. I mean, you don't really need her that much in the deck anymore, and if you would play her, then you would not play her at 4. So that pretty much will not make that big of a difference in the format, but it will make a difference for the Pale Moon players. And the card doesn't really need to sit there on the restriction list if it would not be doing that much. Alright, now we will go and talk about Angerblader. So some people are getting like a little bit crazy about this, making memes about it, but it's more of a joke, guys, because Angerblader, I myself was iffy about Angerblading being on the list, and was one of the few people who questioned the judgment of Bushiroad about Angerblader, but I didn't say that they should not hit him. What I said is that they could not take a VR like Angerblader from the Tachikaze players because they had nothing to fall back on. Then they gave them Gaia. Gaia is an okay card. It's not as bad as most people think. You could still make like some really nice combos, and it gives you that G-era feeling, but it's not close to Gridora or Rising, or not in the same level as Luard, of course. I mean, not even close, but it's just like you have that Gaia, and then you have that Luard, which is way up there, and then you have like, of course, Gridora and Rising in between. Gridora being its own deck, like in this time it could be good, it could always be a rogue deck, but Rising is something different because Rising is also amazing in premium, and it's a timeless card because you keep copying cards' abilities, so you can't really say Rising is good or Rising is bad. Is depending on what Rising chooses makes him good or bad, like the grade 3s that he targets. So Rising is the best card out of the whole set because he's timeless, but at this moment Luard is better, but with time Rising will become better. But that's a different story than Gaia. And going back to the topic of this video, of course, taking Angerblader out is crazy, is insane. They could not do that. It's just unplayable. The Tachikaze players, like some of the Tachikaze players that I know, just stopped playing Tachikaze. They just sold the Tachikaze and just played it in G. Oh, I mean in premium, or just don't play the clan anymore because they had nothing to fall back on. You could not play the first sets VR and you'd be like, yo, I could still play this tournament. So how about those Tachikaze lovers? I mean, those people that really are loyal to Tachikaze, what did Bushiroad do to them? That was not good. That was not fun. If you play only one clan, and that clan was Tachikaze, you need to pick up another clan because you could not play Tachikaze with one Angerblader. So, what I said in the past, the moment that they hit Angerblader, I said they should not have hit Angerblader, but they should have gave him an errata. And the errata is actually very simple. What they should have done is they said the second ability of Angerblader could only work if your opponent's at grade 3 or if you have a grade 3 in Assault. The same as Madrid. It should have been the same as Madrid. I really don't get why Engerblader did not get an errata. Still till this day, you give him back to 4. Why don't you just give him an errata? I mean, it's just stupid to me. I just don't get it. Why did some other cars like with Bermuda? I mean, we have seen them get a once per turn ability. We have seen different erratas through the years. Why not give Engerblader an errata? So now, why did they put Engerblader back to 4? Well, even with Engerblader back to 4, even with Engerblader in the past, you could play around Engerblader. And people would say, yo, you could not. Well, you could. You could still even not give them counterblast if you want to. I mean, it still works. But it's just a lot to do, right? You just don't want to play that format where you'll just like, I'm skipping my turn, not attacking with a finger. I just ride and that's it. It's your turn. And then until they get to grade 3, and then you will be attacking again because you build up some hand advantage, but you already lost like 2 drive checks. So that's also very stupid. We don't want to do that. But now, how will Engerblader shift the format? It will not. Even with Engerblader back to 4, people will not just pick Engerblader back and play the deck again. Maybe the Chikazi players, yes, but if people get to choose between Engerblader, Gurgit, or Luard, they will pick Luard or Gurgit and they will not pick Engerblader. It's another rogue deck, the same as a Hyuga. It's just another rogue deck that you will see here and there, and it could also win wards out of nothing, but again, it's not like it will be tier 0. And another thing, the same as Murakumo, most people who played Engerblader, like lots of them, were not Tochikazi players. They just picked up the deck because they just wanted to win. And those people will not pick up the deck again. And that's what you want. You want Tochikazi players to enjoy Engerblader the way that he was meant to be, and not for people to just try to high roll with the deck and then win the game before it even started. So that's the thing about these 3 cards. Okay, now we explain these. Now we could get fast through the restriction list and talk about all of those restrictions. So we will just talk about standard. We will not talk about premium. If you guys want me to talk about premium, I could make another video. Reasons is that there are a bunch of cards on the premium list that they should not be there. I'm not saying that Refros, but there are other cards like they definitely should not be there. The gold should still there. But again, that's like for another video. So for standard, what do we have here? We still have, of course, Luard and Nimane that they could not be in the same deck. And this is understandable. Luard is already strong by itself. That doesn't really need Nimane to be even more busted. But one thing that the Luard players are angry about is that those new grade 1s who are 5k. I agree with that 100%. If you made those new grade 1s, like the owl and everything, an 8k, then people would not play Luar to start with. I mean, not play Nimane to start with. So they had to choose between playing Nimane or playing the deck without Nimane with those 8k grade 1s, or play Nimane with those 5k grade 1s. But now they actually didn't give the people a choice. They just said you cannot play Nimane, but you still tech those 5k grade 1s in your deck, which is kind of stupid because why would you do that? So that's for these two. The only thing that I'm irritated about is that those new grade 1s are 5k. If you have tested Luard, as in Bushrod, if they tested Luard and saw how good it is, then they would make those new grade 1s 6k. That would work. 7k, that would work. 8k, that would work. Alright, now another one is of course Shiryugi to 1. This went back to 3, so that's good. Engerblader went back to, 4, so that's good. Unrestricted, and we still have Chuo. Does he still needs to be on this list? Yep, 100%, because Vanguard is insanely strong. With their new support, they're insanely strong again, and they do not need to have this back at 4. And because they will play it at 4, because it's one of their best grade 2s, right? Okay, now, one more. We have, of course, his big ass. Him being, what does they call it? restricted, because they don't call it banned, they call it restricted. Him being restricted. So this was one of the things that Bushiroad wanted to tackle before we got the new Dark Regular support, let's say. So before we really jumped into their best support, which is of course the reveal of Charlotte. Charlotte made the deck very, very strong. So multi-attacking with a combination of this card is, yes, deadly. So that's one of the things that they didn't want to have in the deck. So they just took him out. So I support that. Although I myself love to play Dark Regulars, I still think that the card was not healthy and wasn't meant to be played with Charlotte, the way that he gave that multi-attacking option. And Charlotte by itself is still a very strong deck. Maybe you will not see it topping again like Yesui, but because we don't really have that much tournaments, and because people in Asia just pick up the strongest plan and they play it. But if we would see tournaments in Europe, I know 100% that we will see Dark Regular tops, because I know lots of good Dark Regular players, and they will just qualify to work with their Dark Regulars. So yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on. Charlotte is still a very strong deck. Okay, Durian, of course, going back to 4, so this unrestricted, and then we have the Grand Blue cards. It's the same is with Nitros, the same with let's say Dark Regulars, the same with Grand Blue, is that they didn't want the deck to be just crazy strong right away, and they just didn't want to have this crazy combo, no guard combo in standard as well. Although I still think that Nitros could use him, because even Charlotte, I mean, it's not that they are tier 1, they are maybe tier 2 or even less, so they could keep using these cards and they will still not become a tier 0 deck, but it's okay to have them on the bad list, because it will make an unhealthy combination with multi-attacking, or yeah, basically multi-attacking. Alright, more for the standard, of course, is nothing. So this is everything that we have had. Of course, we have some erratas that we could talk about, but that's actually pretty much it. So this is the whole ban list that we have, and these are the new changes that they've made. So I think all in all, I think that they've made a good choice. It's really good to be fast and react fast to the format. So Bushiroad just gave these 3 cards back to their respective clans, and that's pretty good, because I think Murakumo, Pale Moon, and Tachikaze players, those 3 are very happy with this. And it's not like, of course, we have some toxic players in the community that they will be like, oh, I will build Anger Blader again, and that deck will be as strong as hell, and I will destroy everybody with it. Yeah, maybe you go first, let's say 50% of the time, so you play a Swiss of 7 rounds. Let's say that you go 3 rounds first, right? Or 4 rounds first. Okay, that's it. That's pretty much it. If you go for 2, that still give you a spot in the top 8, but not always. So even with that, you still are not securing like 100% you're winning the tournament. And let's say that you got first, you don't always have the right cards. I mean, sometimes you don't have Anger Blader to start with. Even within the new Great Researcher, with the new Gaia cards, it's not like Anger Blader will become that Anger Blader that everybody feared right away. And people now have just better decks. The decks become better. And if Anger Blader is still will win every tournament that we see, then people shouldn't stop saying that Bushiroad is power creeping. Because if Bushiroad is power creeping, like we saw with Luard and Grugates, then Anger Blader should not do much. But if Anger Blader will be the top dog right again, then yes, there is an issue or no issue with Bushiroad like making those big decks, like just deck that is released, it's like the strongest deck in the format. But all in all, I still think that Anger Blader should not be a problem, and Anger Blader will not be played that much. It could be a rogue deck, but that's pretty much it. The same goes for Shiryuki. For Hyuga, it would be a rogue deck. On the other hand, Yasui and Silverthorn, now with their new support and having these cards back could hopefully make a bigger impact on the format. Why do I say hopefully? Because I don't want to see decks from the last sets topping every tournament. I don't want to keep seeing Luard winning, but now we have Gurgit, so Gurgit winning, or we see Lambros, or it doesn't matter. I also want to see decks from the older sets, because all those sets should be at least around the same level, and Bushiroad should not be power creeping every new set they make. So that's one of the most important things for me. Make new mechanics, make mechanics that fits right in their clans, but do not make those power creeps like hell again, and then you would be like, okay, it's a new set. Every month is a new set. If I just want to keep up with the format, I have to buy a new deck every single month. That's not what we want to see. We want people to like pick up 3 clans or 4 clans or just 1 clan, whatever they like, and like play that clan and be good with it. And that in Tachikaze could not happen because they took Ingerblader out and they gave them Gaia, which I don't want to say a mediocre card, but it's no way near the top dogs in the format. That's pretty much it. I would like to thank you all for watching. Thank you for tuning in on our channel. If you are not a part of our Facebook group, don't forget to check that out. The link, of course, will be in the description section below. You can check it out. And we got a bunch of friends on Facebook, so we would hope that you would want to be one of them. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and of course, comment with your thoughts on this list. That's it for us. Thank you all. Until next time.